Joshua, and we're going to be in the 24th chapter, verse 14. We're going to take a look at how people serve the Lord and how people sometimes wish to serve the Lord but don't. So I just want to read for you, and you can read with me. This is a very well-known scripture out of Joshua. And people have to make a choice. And in today's time, we have to make a choice. We've got choices to make each and every day. Last week we talked a little bit about counterfeit Christians. And how there's counterfeit Christians in the world and how people portray to be something that they're not. There's even counterfeit Christians in the world who think that they're Christians but are not. In verse 14 it says, "Now therefore fear the Lord and serve Him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Amen. Now today's Father's Day, and y'all know I don't generally do special sermons for holidays. But today's Father's Day, as I thought about Father's Day, I thought about all the fathers and what do we teach our children. And I look around and I see the fathers that I know, the fathers that are in the church. I see the fathers that I know that are fathers outside the church. I see fathers that I know that profess to be Christians and fathers that I know that don't profess anything. And the one thing that they all have in common is they want to do right by their children. They want to help their children. They want to teach their children. They want to guide their children. They want to prepare things for their children. They want to be there for them. But sometimes we prepare the wrong things. We look at a group of people here, the Israelites, and they had turned away from God and they were serving other gods, idol worshiping, if you will. And Joshua calls them together and he makes a statement to them. He says, if it seems evil to you to serve God, then choose you this day whom you're going to serve. Now I told our Sunday school class, if he was in there this morning, because I'm getting some strange looks, because I told them we were going to hear today about $3 Christians. And y'all are thinking, what's this got to do with a $3 Christian? Well, I want you to know, if we continue this line of thought out of Joshua, the 24th chapter, we continue on and we see that Joshua dies. And up until he dies, the Israelites, those that he met with, they followed the Lord and they worshiped the Lord, and the Lord was their God, and Joshua died, and those that outlived him finally died, and the next generation went right back to what was happening before. Why? We don't know why. The Bible doesn't tell us why. It just says that they done evil in the sight of the Lord, and they worshiped Baal. They went right back to the way things were. As fathers, there's something that we need to do. Yes, we need to protect our children, and we need to teach our children, and we need to do all those things that I mentioned before. But there's something else that we're required to do that the Scripture tells us about, And it tells us to bring those children up in the way that they should go. And a lot of fathers don't do that. A lot of times we as fathers don't do that because we're so busy with other things. Now I ran across a couple of illustrations that I wanted to use this morning. One of them was something that St. Augustine said. Made a lot of sense. He said, God wants to give us something, but He can't. There's nowhere to put it. Our hands are too full. And we have our hands on everything in the world today except what our hands should be on. We live in a world that's totally just turned from God. Not everyone, but a lot. Totally turned away from God. Don't want to hear about God. You know, we read last week where the Scriptures told us that there's going to come a time when people will kill you and think that they're doing God's service. We're in that time. There are people today who will kill you and think that they're doing God's service because you're a Christian. We live in a bad place, in a bad time in society. We can't help that. We can't change that. But there's one thing that we can do. And we can be authentic. You say, well, what does this got to do with choose you this day and serve? If Joshua was standing here today and he addressed his congregation and said, choose you this day whom you will serve, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. He made a statement there. As for Joshua and Joshua's house, the household he's responsible for, they're going to serve the Lord. He's the leader of the house. He's the spiritual leader. He's the one that's going to make sure that the things that take place in his house are pleasing to God. That they come under the heading of the laws and the regulations, the way that God taught us how to live. That's what Joshua is saying. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And there are some fathers in the world today, inside churches and outside churches, that needs to stand up in that household and say, as for me and this house, we're going to serve the Lord. Amen. But they don't do it. For whatever reason. Maybe their hands are too full. I've been there. I've been guilty of that. I've let things go. I've even instituted things that were not in God's plan, that did not bring glory to God. In my house, I'm just as guilty as this bunch of Israelites right here. And so are every one of us if we're stopping back. So I want to read something to you, a little illustration that I found. And it put a thought in my mind about people today in the world. I'm going to give you two illustrations. The first one is this. Now, and I was going to bring it, but it was in the laundry to be washed. My wife has a shirt. Got this cute little thing on the back of it with a pair of boots, you know. And on that shirt it says, I want to be the kind of woman who, when my boots hit the floor in the morning, the devil says, oh no, she's up. Amen. That's the kind of women we need in the households today. That when their feet hit the floor, the devil starts running. That's the kind of fathers we need in our households today that says, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. But instead, the world has turned to be more like this right here. And it's an illustration I'm going to read you. I told you I was going to do something today I've never done before and may never do again. I've got this little electronic book right here that I'm going to read you something to you. Somebody already said I was like that. And then I found out they were just joking. Scared me for a minute. The title of this is $3 worth, please. Before I read this, I want everyone to think about this. Everyone in this church that knows my wife, that's been around her very much, knows that on some occasions, she may have a sum of money in the bank, but in her purse she will only have $3. And you'll go out to eat, and you could say, well, if you got any money, well, I've got $3. And I make a joke out of it about she's made a good living on that $3. But jokes aside, there are people in the world that I think of, after reading this, as $3 Christians. Because that's all they have, is $3 worth. It says $3 worth, please. I would like to buy $3 worth of God. Please. Not enough to explode my soul or disturb my sleep, but just enough to equal a cup of warm milk or a snooze in the sunshine. Sometimes that's what people want, $3 worth of God. Now I'm giving you these two illustrations about the shirt that Cindy has and this person who wants to buy $3 worth of God, because sometimes we as people, we get all decorated up. And we're $3 Christians. We wear our shirts that talks about God. We wear our chains around our necks with a cross on them to remind everyone else and ourselves about God. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the shirts, nothing wrong with the crosses. But we want people to see us and perceive us as that Christian that we're supposed to be. The story goes on. Listen to this. This may hit home in some lives. Part of this will hit home in every life. Just enough to equal a cup of warm milk or a snooze in the sunshine. Just enough to make me feel good about myself. That's what he said. I don't want enough of him to make me love a black man or pick beets with a migrant. How about that? Just $3 worth. Not enough to care about people in the world. Not enough to serve the Lord. Just $3 worth. That's all I need. I want to feel good. I want to have joy. I want the world to look at me and think that I'm something that I'm not. I want to feel good, not transformation. I want the warmth of the womb, not a new birth. I want a pound of the eternal in a paper sack. I would like to buy $3 worth, please. Folks, the world has enough decoration. We've got enough $3 Christians in the world. Amen. What we need is dedication, not decoration. What we need is for us to get on fire and serve God to the point where we make the stance and we say, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And in order to do that, we have to get our household together and tell them, as for me and this house, we're going to serve the Lord. You can't force people to serve the Lord. You can't force children to serve the Lord. But what you can do is teach them how to serve the Lord, and they have to make up their own mind. But if we don't teach them, they'll be exactly like that next generation that came along after Joshua died off, and they'll do what they want to do. And there'll be no dedication. Just decoration. You know, there was a time when the Jews, and probably even still today, when some of the Jews would say, well, you know, I'm Abraham's seed. What did God say? It don't make no difference. I'm able to raise up Abraham's seed with these stones. There are people who'll tell you, I don't need that. Yes, you need that. There are people that'll tell you, I'm okay because I'm a member of such and such church. Don't make no difference. There'll be people that tell you, I paid the mortgage off on that church. Don't make no difference. Don't make any difference at all. What makes a difference is what you have in your heart. Amen. Think about this. Think about this. If you were going on a long trip, would you go to the gas station and buy $3 worth of gas? You don't fill the tank up, right? Don't know where the next filling station might be, but you know $3 ain't going to get you very far. You go to the grocery store to prepare for this week's groceries, you don't buy $3 worth of groceries. Not going to eat very long on $3 worth of groceries in today's time, are we? Now, we fill up the buggies, or we buy up to what is in our budget today. But people will come to church today and sit on the church pews and want $3 for them. I worked at a gas station, and there was a man that I just did not want to see come in there. True story. He worked at the cotton mill. He drove a Buick Electra 225. Some of y'all have heard me tell this before. He would come after every shift when he got off work. At least I think it was every shift. It was almost daily. He would come to the gas station and he would buy $2 worth of gas and a pack of cigarettes. $2. Gonna get him home, gonna get him to work, and gonna get him back to the filling station. I guess that's as far as he figured he was ever going to go. Well, let me tell you something. $3 worth of salvation ain't going to do it.
Amen.
I want 100%. I hope you want 100%. I hope you got $3 worth of faith. At least that. I hope that the $3 that you give to the Lord is the only $3 you get. Because He wants our all. You don't want to get some pieces. He don't want us to be dedicated. He wants us to be dedicated. I could go on and on and on. I've got all these examples in my head about $3 and what $3 gets you. But $3 of today's money won't buy you anything. And when it comes to your soul and your salvation, I surely hope it's worth more to you than being a $3 Christian. We're going to have a hymn. Church doors are open. If there's something standing between you and the Lord that keeps you in your house from serving God, now's the time to address it. Not with me. I'm not God. I'm not the judge. I'm not the one who says you ought to do this or that. Address it in prayer to the Lord. So the Lord wants your 100%. He gave you His all.